Peter Dengate Thrush. Thanks for agreeing this interview for Domain Info.
My pleasure. My origins in ICANN are with the country code community. I was involved for a long time with the Internet NZ who managed .nz, and then I was the president of the Asia Pacific top-level domain association, the trade association for the country code managers in the Asia Pacific region. And through the Country Code Association, I was eventually elected to the board of ICANN by the CCNSA.
It's just a chance to say, hey.
Well, it's part of the whole reason for being at ICANN is it's an incredible experiment originally in a multi-stakeholder approach to critical infrastructural resources. All other kinds of resources like that have developed in a national environment first, and national laws have developed, and then the exercise has been coordinated on an international basis. And so typically we've had international treaties between governments managing things like radio frequency allocation, banking, transport and so on. What happened with the internet is that it went global so quickly that we didn't even have national rules in place for most of its operation. So this has been an exercise in developing as we go governance systems and structures at the same time as having to manage an ever-increasing user base. So it's been historically interesting. It also deals with a whole range of issues. We bring together regulatory matters, scientific and technical matters, political matters, issues of national sovereignty, so all in one issue. This internet thing, we end up with the most fantastic collection of very complicated issues. Well, it's an honour to be on the same board with Vint. He's done a fantastic amount of work, not just technically. I think a lot of people don't realise that many of the institutions that have been built up around the internet, Vint's been involved with, going right back to the Internet Architecture Board, ISOC. So as well as his technical contribution, Vint has always made a substantive contribution to the administration and the governance structures. But his time on the board has come to an end. I think he is actually quite pleased to be getting some of his life back, some more time for the rest of his activities. The corporation's moving forward into a whole new era internally. We now have nearly 100 staff. When Vint started, I think we had something like 10, and a whole new cycle is required. And I'm happy to step forward, and if I'm selected, I'll look forward to serving in that role. They both have the word international in them. The first one, on the technical side, we've put a lot of effort over the last couple of years into developing internationalised domain names. And this is correctly described as the most dramatic development of the internet since it was invented. Previously, the script that the internet worked in, as far as users have been concerned, has just really effectively been English. It's in fact a set of ASCII scripts, but to the user it's English. What we're now going to be able to do is allow the internet to work so that systems will cooperate with each other when the things that they're using are going to be non-ASCII scripts. So Chinese characters, Cyrillic characters, Arabic, all the different scripts that the world actually uses are now going to be available. And this is a tremendous development. It's going to open the internet up for much greater applications and far greater use than we have at the moment. So that's the first international development, the internationalised IDNs. The other one is ICANN itself. The reason that ICANN exists is that it has the support of the international community to do the job that it does. Someone has to coordinate the unique identifiers that make the internet work, and the proper body for that is ICANN. And the next exercise is to make ICANN a much more international body, and so we're working towards full internationalisation of ICANN. The original premise that the US government supported the incorporation of ICANN through the development of a series of relationships with the US government is to transition management control from the Department of Commerce. Originally the Department of Defense was heavily involved, from these US governmental institutions, to transition that into private sector leadership via ICANN. So that's the other exciting development. We're gradually working on that relationship to have a more fully internationalised ICANN. Quite the contrary, the technical side of that's been handled very carefully by very clever people. The original design of the internet has been looked at very carefully to make sure that there's no technical problem with the implementation of IDNs. We're running a test at the moment and exploring exactly how it's going to work, and we're getting useful data back from those tests. So no, far from damaging anything, it's going to make a tremendous difference. The big advantage, of course, is going to be the number of users and the type of users that are going to be able to join and the things they are going to be able to do using internationalized scripts as part of their email and websites.
Think of how you promised me for it.
It's an interesting phenomenon. It's one of those things that reflects the vitality of the internet very well. This is something that grew out of a solution that was proposed for one problem, which was allowing a certain amount of time for people to apply for a domain name, and then if there was some problem, a typographical error in the name they'd chosen, or some problem with payment. So the system allows that 5-day ad grace period to exist. What people have realised is they can get in and use a domain name in that period without having to pay for it. And very quickly an enormous business has grown up called Tasting on that. What are we going to do about it? Well, we're reviewing that. There's a number of issues. If we were to make a change at the registrar level, all 900 or so registrars would have quite a considerable cost in changing their current administration and software systems. So that would be quite a burden. Another way of dealing with it may be to have the registries deal with it. For example, the way the registry that runs .org dealt with it, which is to impose a small fee, which virtually eliminated tasting in the .org registry. So there are a number of solutions. We're looking at that carefully now. In fact, we're discussing at this meeting whether or not we should have a policy development process devoted to that, or whether there can be some other matter negotiated to solve it. I think it's a question of changing anything at the moment. We've got a very, very good model working. The multi-stakeholder model, which was originally unique to ICANN, is now being propagated and developed in other places. For example, the Internet Governance Forum. Remember that our role at ICANN is very narrow. Can't stress that enough. It's to coordinate the unique identifiers. A lot of people have come to ICANN thinking that it was going to be the place that intellectual property law matters were going to be solved, or issues such as criminal issues or taxation issues, revenue fraud, etc. These are not the proper, ICANN's not the proper place to discuss those. We will of course cooperate with the people who have to solve those problems in any way we can. If there's a technical issue in relation to the internet that we can help, obviously we will. But ICANN's not the place for solving the terrible problems of child pornography or other things. So it's not a question of changing the governance, it's a question of building other places to solve those, and the Internet Governance Forum is one of them. Having said that, there are always improvements that we can make to the governance, to the way ICANN works. We have a very comprehensive self-review program, for example, and the Board Governance Committee is managing a process of review of the nominating committee that appoints people to boards and councils, for example. There's a substantial review going on at the moment of the GNSO, which has already been reported here. So we are continuing to examine the way we work and to make improvements where necessary.
Peter, we really appreciate your time that you have shared with us, and I hope to see you in the next ICANN meeting, maybe in another position.
Thank you very much.